Hi there. Welcome to the Watchman News. I'm going to tell you a little bitty story about one of the most important lessons my dad ever taught me. And what that lesson is that you either learn to do with yourself or you learn to do without. So, sounds pretty simple, pretty basic, right? So, first of all, I got to give you just a little bit of backstory, okay? I've always been capable of working on things, fixing things. I was literally, I made two complete electrical circuits at the age of 5. Now, the first one I don't recommend anybody do, but the second one was advanced, way advanced for somebody my age. The first one was my dad cut the cords off of everything. If something broke or whatever, he cut the cord off of it. He'd throw the rest in the trash because he might need that cord someday. That was my dad. And guess what? Yep, some days he did need that cord. And so that day, however, I felt I needed the cord. And so I took one of dad's little, plug-ins that he had cut off, and I stripped the wires off the end, just like I watched dad do. And I twisted them puppies together, and I plugged it into the outlet. And you can imagine what happened. My grandpa, and I don't personally remember this, but I've been reminded by my mom about about how I used to say something about don't mess with electricity after that incident. Well, then following that, my parents went to a yard sale or something, and they got me. You would think of them as like the motorized cars that you can buy for kids today, the Jeeps, the trucks, the cars, stuff like that the kids can ride around. Well, they used to have them back in the day too, except they didn't use like lead acid batteries and stuff. They used like 6-volt lantern batteries, the old 6-volt lantern battery. And so my parents picked one up at a yard sale or whatever and brought it home. But my dad, told me I'm not. Those batteries are expensive. I'm not going to be going and buying a bunch of batteries for the thing. They were actually over at the neighbors, talking to the neighbors, sitting out in lawn chairs in the front yard like people used to do. And lo and behold, what did they see a little bit after they walked over there? Me drag that battery operated motorcycle out to the sidewalk, sit down on it, push the button, and take off. In a pretty short amount of time, I had went and scavenged 4D cell batteries out of flashlights, my dad's flashlight. So yeah, he loves me for this stuff. I even knew how to tape the D cells together. I knew that I had to get a piece of aluminum foil to tape on the bottom of them to be able to complete. Now, you tell me 5 years old. Tell me 5 years old, that's normal. That's the father. That's exactly what that is. So, all my life, I've been good with these skills. However, we have reached a moment at this particular time when I'm 17 to where my own hard headedness, my own stubbornness is getting into the way. Well, dad, he worked as a supervisor, as I was starting to say, he worked as a supervisor at a creosote treating plant, right? And they got shut down because of dioxin contamination and what have you. So dad had to change up jobs, right? And so he decided, I'm tired of this stuff. I'm going to go drive a truck. And so he went to truck driving school. Well, one of the weekends that he had to go to his school, my mom went with him, which meant that old Mike was at home alone. Probably not a wise idea. But so they're gone. I'm looking out at this car outside and I'm like, I'm going to fix that. I'm going to find out what's wrong with it and I'm going to fix that. So I went out there, and a combustion engine has to have three things to work. Okay. And I knew this. I knew this as an 8-year old kid repairing lawnmower engines. Okay. An engine has to have compression. Okay. It has to have ignition and it has to have fuel. Okay. So we knew it had compression and we knew it could get fuel And even if it couldn't, we could squirt some ether or even a little gas down the carburetor and temporarily give it fuel. So, but it wasn't getting spark. And that's what the guy said. The guy said that he put a new head gasket on, and after he put the new head gasket on, the thing never sparked again. Spark plugs never sparked again. He didn't want to mess with it. At that point, he was already too many headaches into it. So, Dad had got the car, so I could be several headaches into it. And so I went out there, and again, I knew that it was an electrical problem. The reason I told you about the backstory is because, I'm a natural at the at electrical and electronics. So I went and I dug around. I finally found the problem. When the guy put the head back on the block, just under the very corner of it, he got the wire caught that went to the distributor. Okay, that's all it was. So what I did, and I mean, it was just on the edge. It wasn't nothing that was holding the head up or anything that was going to cause a problem with head. The cylinder starting to leak or anything like that because of the head not being down tight enough. It wasn't nothing like that. But it was enough to be able to ground out the ignition so that it couldn't get any power to the coil. So I cut the wire off on both sides of the head and then spliced it together. Simple enough. Got in the car, hit the key, vroom vroom, fired right up. And to make the story a little bit funnier, of course, I had to drive the car, right? I mean, I got it started. I can't just leave it in the driveway. License, no license. I can't just leave this car in the driveway. And I wasn't going to go out on a big joyride. Don't get me wrong. Um, but I was just going to take it down the road, turn around, and bring it back. And so I I pulled out of the driveway, went down the road just a little ways to the first country road on the left. I figured I'll just turn around here, right? So I pulled down the road, pulled up into the first driveway, and backed out. Well, considering I'm a rather new driver, I don't even have my license, I backed up too far and put it into the ditch. Well, fortunately, Mr. Aravik that lived there, I didn't know him then. I went to school with his son. Uh, I don't even honestly at the time think I knew either one because his son was a little older than me. But anyway, he had a tractor, and we lived on Highway 40, right? I mean, so we had plenty of traffic. I'm talking the Highway 40, right? And so we had plenty of traffic, and I'm sure he probably several times a day went right past our house. He knew where that car sat. He knew where that car belonged. And anyway, he brought his tractor out, pulled me out of the ditch and all that, and kind of looking at me, and he looks at me and he says, "You better get that car back home, boy." So anyway, he saved my butt. Thank you, Mr. Arabic. Anyway, he saved my butt. And so I drove the car back home. It didn't matter because guess what happens when you get a car, you back a car into the ditch and you hit the gas pedal and you're spinning the wheels trying to get out of the ditch. Do you know what? I don't know what evidence you may have on your vehicle, like maybe mud slung up on it or something. Yeah, yeah. So that didn't go over so well either. But you know, I have always worked on my own vehicles. There's been very, very, very rare times I've ever taken anything to anybody to be done. And most of the time, if I do, it's for a matter of convenience. In other words, like tires. The van that I had, right? I bought brand new tires for it, and it was middle of winter, snow and ice outside. I had an airplane in the garage, so it's not like I could use the garage to work on car stuff because I had an airplane in there. And so I just took the van uptown with the tires and said, "Mom, that's it. That's really about it. I can do it myself. I just didn't want to stand out there in the cold and snow and the ice and all that, changing 4 15-inch tires on a full size van." So, um, I very rarely will go to somebody else to have something done. Most of the time, if it's something that I don't already know how to do, I'll learn the skills and I'll do it. And that's how I've learned how to do many of the things, you know? I mean, I have got a wild list of skills, and that is in no way meant to rub it into anybody or anything like that. It is what it is. And that's why I keep trying to explain to people, you know, if you're prepping, if you're into preparedness, you really better take skills seriously because that is what's going to save you. That's going to save you above anything and anyone else is your own capability. And I cannot emphasize that enough. I'm an oddball. I know I'm an oddball. I'm about as oddball as you're going to find. I spent my entire life learning. I spent my entire life trying to figure out how things work so I could, you know, I should say reverse engineering things so I could figure out how they work. That's how I'm backwards. I do a lot of things backwards. Um, and, you know, the thing of it is I've never stopped having that desire to learn. Here I sit 51 years old and I still have, look at this. I'm doing the news shows now in VR. Does it seem to you like I'm done learning anytime soon? Nah, nah. And that's why I come down on people that want to act like they're leaders, that they only want the leadership role for the benefits that it brings them. They don't want the leadership role for anything that they actually have to provide. Oh, no, no. You'll find a lot of people like leadership roles because one, they don't know how to do the stuff themselves. Two, they're too lazy to do it themselves. And three, they pretty much screw up everything they put their hands on. You know, the old saying, those that can't do, teach. Yeah, well, those that can't teach, lead, right? And unfortunately, that's the way a lot of it is. We've got this misconception in society that the loudest voice wins. Nah, nah, homie. Not even close. But because society plays that rule, I just stay to the side, right? Learn my skills and just do me be me, you know? I cannot emphasize to you enough how important skills are. They're everything. That is everything right there. In SHTF, it doesn't matter how good you're good at bullshitting people. It doesn't matter. All that's going to melt away. None of that's going to make a damn bit of difference. And it'd take all of 2 seconds for people to figure out whether you're just mouth or whether you've got skills, whether you've got competence, experience, you know, it doesn't take long to figure it out. Look, I'm not going to convince anybody of anything, but I will tell you this expecting to get the most out of anything that you're only willing to put in a little bit is ridiculous. Ridiculous. A lot of the prepper channels run around the same topics all the time, and the reason why is because, and they'll sit there and tell you about how they're not lazy and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, they are. They won't learn skills for nothing. How many prepper channels have told you something to the effect of, you know, they don't do this or that because they don't know how? And I'm talking about like the production of their content, what they're doing. Like, for instance, you've got big channels that won't go out and invest a little bit in good audio equipment, right? Big channels that won't invest in good audio equipment at all. The dumbassery just completely escapes me on that one. Bringing in thousands and thousands of dollars a month, then you won't go spend a few hundred on a good mic system? Yeah, that's ridiculous. Again, it's people that's wanting to put in the least amount and get the most amount out. And, you know, I think that true colors are going to really start coming out with these prepper channels, because I think that the money's not going to be there at all. And that's when you're going to see them quit. You're going to see them go away. Why? Because that's their only motivation. Many of them tell you Patreon is the engine that drives this, stuff like that. Many of them will tell you that. You think that they're here for you? No, they're here for that money. They even tell you that. They aren't going to tell you these things that I'm telling you. They aren't going to tell you that the best thing that somebody can do is get off their ass and do something. Sure, some of them will touch it, but they won't hammer down hard on it. And the reason why is because they'll lose that income, right? Some reason why any organization that wants to be worth their salt will not be 501c3. If it's an organization and it's 501c3, walk away. Walk away. Because for one, if they're trying to act like they're daring and they're on the edge of something, nah, bro. You know why? Because part of 501c3, it gives them the ability to just strip your tax exemption anytime they damn well choose. And as far as clerical, and I know this because I am, many people don't realize that I am a clergy member. It is what it is. No, that's not what I do. So that's not why I act that way. And in fact, you pick a title, pastor, mine, I chose brother because I'm not above anybody. And I don't even want to appear above anybody in any way, shape, or form. I'm your brother. That's all I am. But anyway, I'll digress on that. Folks, there's a reason Hosea 4:6 is in the Bible. There is a reason that the Father says that He'll forget you. He will forget you if you pass on knowledge. He will forget you. There's a lot of people that want to argue a lot of stuff that I say, but it's a little bit hard to argue Scripture. You don't know what Hosea 4:6 is? Right on. Folks, it's getting very close to game time. Learn as many skills as you possibly can. True skills that are going to help you. There are a lot of prepper channels out there that teach a lot of nonsense that's not going to bring a lot of people very much good. Do whatever you can and whatever time you have left, with whatever means and funds that you have. Learn as many skills, because I'm telling you, when that day comes, that is going to be the only thing that matters. How big you talk, that shit's going to melt away in seconds. That is going to be your saving grace. That is going to help you save others. Wonder how the Father's going to look at all these prepper channels. They want to hole up in their little bitty groups with their box of crackers. I know I always joke about the box of crackers, but they want to hole up in their little bitty groups, right? Wonder if the Father is going to think about them not trying to help anybody else. Just wondering, because I'm pretty sure that the commands for me are the same for others. Imagine that. Imagine that. There's no magic wand that exempts me from the Scripture. Wow. What a novel thought. Shalom.